Hello viewers! This weekend we are in Portland, Oregon, which is home to 641,000 Portlanders and is the largest city in Oregon. Since 1888, it has been known as the Rose City after Madame Caroline Testutte roses were introduced to the city. Fun fact, Portland is home to over 330 parks across the city, including the smallest park in the world, Mills End Park. However, there is one park that is the most unique in the city of Portland, and that is the Portland International Raceway. Earlier, we saw NASCAR and Formula E at the Portland International Raceway, but this weekend, INDYCAR is finally here. The NTT INDYCAR Series is back. Distinguished guests, welcome to the Grid Network's pre-race show for the 29th Grand Prix of Portland. Hello everybody, welcome to our pre-race show. I'm Isha Azim from Racing with Isha, and I'm very excited for you to join us today because we have a stellar team prepared for today's show. With me today, we have Alex Anderson from the Gay Racing Podcast, Amanda Kaufman, Ben Schneider from lastcar.info and the Ben Schneider YouTube channel, Joshua Birch from Joshua Birch Motorsports on YouTube, Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish, and reporting from Portland International Raceway, Joe Samaniego. And as always, a big thank you to our Patreon supporters, Colin, Deshelle, Mark, Robin, and David. Their support makes weekends like this possible, and we hope to have more track weekends in 2024. Now, we'll start from the track with Joe for the latest updates from Portland.
Very excited to be here from Portland, and it is an intense atmosphere right here. We saw yesterday the big drama on pit road with Roman Grosjean's team. That team not happy this morning. We saw the team all huddle up. They were having a meeting. Looked like it's not exactly the most happiest place. And of course, the big news that came out yesterday, Roman Grosjean on his way out with that team. The championship atmosphere here, it's very different compared to years past where I feel like a lot of people were just still, we knew the championship was going to be potentially decided, but there was still sort of a fun, festive atmosphere. For the fans, it's fun and festive, but I feel for the drivers, there's just been a lot of intensity, pressure. Everyone seems to be very much on edge. It's a very different atmosphere. And speaking about a different atmosphere, it is cloudy with a chance of rain, very overcast. Now, yesterday it was very hot. We got up to 80 degrees. So we saw qualifying. The temperature rose 14 degrees. So that second group was slower and the times get slower and slower. Now, much cooler conditions and still a potential chance of rain. We might see some sunlight here and there, but around race time, it could be overcast. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with this race. And overall, I got to tell you all, this has been a very great weekend. A lot of folks here are very excited. The championship could be decided. I know you all get into that later on. The race, it looks like it's going to be unpredictable. And if it's anything with what we saw this morning with MotoGP and F1, this could be just the third race out of 4 potentially crazy race weekends this Labor Day weekend.
Thank you, Joe. And while we'll discuss more on the IndyCar Points Championship scenarios later in the program, the most anticipated battle right now is for third place. Joseph Newgarden is 11 points ahead of Pato O'Ward and 14 ahead of Scott McLaughlin. And any of these drivers can leave third in the points. And if Dixon were to have a poor finish, the points would close up for second place. Newgarden has a best finish of 5th twice at Portland, the last time in 2021. Pato O'Ward, 4th place last year, has only done 2 races here. Scott McLaughlin is starting second and is the defending champion of this race. He is also looking to join an elite company of drivers to win at Portland in consecutive years. This includes Mario Andretti, Michael Andrade, Al Unser Jr., and Gil de Ferran. Now, Alex, starting with you, which of those 3 drivers is most likely to leave with third in the championship, and do any of them follow what Dixon does today?
I think Joseph Newgarden will hold on to third as long as something that has happened in the past few races, such as Indy. He got involved in that lap 1 incident, and at Gateway he made a mistake and hit the wall. And if he doesn't make a mistake as he did in practice yesterday, I think he'll hold on to third. He's still starting 12th. I think he'll be able to maintain. And honestly, these guys, they might want to follow Scott Dixon because he's kind of just pulled off some magic tricks the past few weeks. And just do whatever he does and maybe he'll get a second place finish.
I think that we'll actually see Scott edge ahead here just because he's starting further up and we know that he's won here before and that grid Starting position is pretty important here, and track position. So I think that Newgarden kind of has a little bit of an uphill battle, of course, after his mistake yesterday. But I think that this might be Scott's chance to become the number one Penske.
Completely agree with you both as well. It's got good points. No one's mentioned Pato O'Ward, and I don't think anybody is going to think about Pato O'Ward in that case. He's a bit too unreliable this season. Definitely my pick would be Scott McLaughlin. Won here last year, second in the grid today. Looked like he could have had a pole position at one point as well. So he was definitely on the cusp, and I think he's got a good chance to take third away. Newgarden, the crash in qualifying really hurt him. It was a silly error, just getting on the curb and sort of just drifting him onto the grass and just square into the wall, breaking the front wing off as well. So I think he's at a disadvantage. My prediction would be McLaughlin for third, and then we'll have O'Ward fourth, and Newgarden probably slip back to fifth place in the standings going to the last race next week.
Now, Scott McLaughlin is one of the 3 past winners of the Portland Grand Prix in today's field, as he won last year in 2022. The other 2 drivers are Will Power, who won in 2019, and Alex Palou, who won in 2021. Takuma Sato won the 2018 race. Out of the 28 years of racing in Portland, the longest streak of different winners was 5 from 2000 to 2004. Now, Amanda, do you anticipate a 5th different consecutive winner in Portland?
I don't, just simply because of some of the pace that the Penske's have demonstrated not only this year, but last year as well. I think that Scott starting in prime position, really, if he can manage to get ahead of Rahal, I think he can stay up there. I think that their race pace has been strong all year. So I think that we might have a repeat winner here this year.
He's got good strategy, and good pace on the times, but I don't think he could get get the race win. I think the man standing on pole position got a very good chance here, and that being Graham Rahal. Back-to-back poles on road courses as well. He flew at IMS on the road course a couple of weeks ago. He was just pipped as well by Dixon. Dixon's going to come into this at some point today to talk about, but I've got a feeling we're going to see a different winner come in from Graham Rahal's point of view later on today. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed if that's the case, because I think he deserves it after the year he's had. It's been a miserable year, and he deserves a race win with his own team.
I don't want to spoil my pick a winner or my answer to the next question here in the script, but I completely agree. I think Graham Rahal's hungrier than ever. I know the last time he sat on pole, he came very close to getting the win. I think it's either going to be him or Scott Dixon, who's very hungry to keep his slim championship hopes alive. Alex Palou, I suppose, has a shot. He always has a shot this season. With the year that he's had, he could, I suppose, break this pattern here and give us a repeat winner after he won in 2021. But I'm leaning towards more a different winner. I think it's either going to be Graham Rahal or potentially Scott Dixon trying to extend this championship battle one more week.
Yeah, for sure. And if we do have a 5th different winner at Portland, pole sitter Graham Rahal is looking to be that winner, while the ovals still have room for improvement. Rahal led him in Lanigan Racing, has been very fast on the road courses. Kristen Lundgaard won at Toronto, and Graham has been showing some great speed in the second half of the year. 5 top 10 finishes, including second place at the IMS road course. If you count his Champ Car experience at Portland, he's had 3 top 10 finishes here. If he wins, we could see the second father and son combo win the Grand Prix of Portland. Bobby Rahal won here in 1987. Mario and Michael Andretti were the other father and son duo to win here. I believe before we get on to the next question, we have a comment in the chat room. If we can display that on the screen. Adam Limmery says he believes there will be a 5th different winner today. And from the sounds of it, seems like people on our show today agree with you. And starting with you, Josh, can Graham Rahal and RLL take the win? And how big would it be to win after such a rough start to the year, highlighted by failing to qualify on time for the Indy 500?
Yeah, I touched on it before. I think it would be I think he's got the best shot of the season. This is a car that has come into its own on road courses in the past couple of races as well. It looked good at Nashville. It was really good at IMS, finishing in second and grabbing the pole there. Today, it's really the last shot, because I don't think it's going to do well at Laguna Seca next week. So this is sort of the last chance saloon to get a good result. And Portland is a very easy but hard circuit to get right. It's easy to get a pole position, but it's hard to get the race call right. And I think this is a team that has sort of got the grit and determination to keep it up front. If they do take a win, it's very much deserved and it's very much needed. As I said, they were really knocked by not getting into the 500. Graham had to go and take a seat from Stefan Wilson, who was out injured because his own teammate, Catherine Legg, was in an accident and put him out of the race. So I think if they do win, everyone is not going to deny that they didn't deserve to win. They've put in so much work, that team, and especially that car, to get it back up into contention. Because we've seen from others in the team that they've been having pace. But I think this is the time for Graham Rahal to get a win around this track.
So I think Graham Rahal could totally get the win. It's just, if you would have asked me this question about 2 months ago, I probably would have laughed at your face. But it's just with Graham Rahal, the fact that they're even in contention to get a win is really remarkable. And I could totally see it happening, but they have so much competition, and he's going to have to stay ahead of Scott Dixon. He couldn't do that at Indianapolis. He totally could. It's just I don't know if he's able to beat the other guys that are up there. But regardless, a win would be huge for RLL, and it'd be great momentum going into next year.
Yep, for sure. Oh, Ben, were you going to answer that one?
Yeah, sorry. I thought I was on to answer this question, but we went to Alex first, but just threw me off for a second. But yes, I completely agree. Graham Rahal needs a shot in the arm. Like I said, he almost got it a couple of weeks ago at IMS. And like Alex was saying, we would have laughed in your face if you had said he'd be contending for the win when he was sitting on pit road at the Indianapolis 500 on bump day, getting bumped from the field. It's just been such a turnaround for him and this team, but I think they still want that shot in the arm of getting the win. It would be thoroughly deserved. And they've already gotten a bit of a shot in the arm, I guess, with these couple of pole positions that he's picked up. But I know Rahal's hungrier than ever, and like I said, I'm still get back to me at the end of the show because I'm trying to decide between Rahal and Dixon here. But I think he's in prime contention to potentially take a surprise win today.
Yeah, for sure. Graham Rahal is definitely in prime position. This entire Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan team's been looking extremely strong throughout the weekend. While Rahal is up front, both of his teammates are deep in the pack. Christian Lundgaard got blocked in qualifying. He's starting 17th despite showing great pace all weekend, and he was also fastest in the Friday practice session. So I'm sure there's a lot of disappointment for the number 45 Hy-Vee Honda team. And then his new teammate Yuri Vips, the ex-Formula 2 driver, for making his IndyCar debut. He ended up qualifying 18th. He also showed some promising speed as well. So, Ben, how challenging will it be for them to work towards the front on a track with laps that are generally under a minute?
Normally I'd say teammates might be able to work together a little bit, but this being Yuri Vips' debut here, I don't know that he and Christian Lundgaard have that chemistry yet. And starting so far in the back of the pack, I think it's going to be very difficult for them to work their way up to the field, and particularly for Yuri Vips, considering these are going to be his first laps under race conditions in the IndyCar Series. So they've got quite a challenge ahead of them today.
I totally agree, Ben. There's a lot of factors in play when you're in the back of the field. You could get involved in an incident. We're going to talk about that turn 1 chicane in a minute. There's a lot at play, and if you're in the back, you're going to have a hard time because traffic is so crucial, and when you have less time on a lap to make up time and positions, you're just not going to be able to get up there as quick. And I don't know if they can really work together, like you said, because Vips is new, and Lundgaard, he's been having a great season, but when he qualifies back here, he kind of just stays back there, it seems. So, yeah, I don't think they'll be able to work their way up there.
You guys said it already about the working together will be challenging, just seeing as Yuri Vips, obviously his first racing laps and at a very different point in his career than his teammate, who's a recent race winner with very different goals for the end of the season. So I think for Yuri, it's probably just all about getting laps under his belt, whereas Christian will be more aggressive, should be more aggressive, and looking to make bigger moves towards the front.
Now we'll bring everyone in for this question regarding the notorious Shelton chicane. Named after Monty Shelton, the winningest driver of the annual Rose Cup race at Portland. The corner has seen chaos at the start, restarts, and mid-race. The chicane was put in for IndyCar before the first race in 1984, and since then, it has brought chaos to so many drivers in various disciplines. Now Joe asked Scott Dixon about the challenges of the chicane.
Yeah, I think the turn one situation is always hard to tell how it's going to go, right? It only takes one kind of mistake or one sort of mishap, and it can take out half the field or put us in a situation for reordering the cars. So I've been on both sides of it. I think it's fun. I think there was a lot of talk of getting rid of the chicane for the start, which I'm glad they didn't, because I think it's definitely one of the more intense parts for starts and restarts, which is a lot of fun for everybody. So just try and keep it clean, man. That's all you can try to do.
Now, last year we had a clean start, but it was for the first time after 3 years of first lap crashes. Alex and Ben, do you agree with Scott on keeping the chicane in the first lap?
I like it personally. I think what Scott Dixon said there is actually what I totally agree with him, because it gives a uniqueness to this track. It makes it more intense. And I don't know, I like part of the track because it just brings more an intensity. And it's like, if you mess up here, your race could be done before you even make the first corner. And I know it brings in some chaos. Some of the guys don't like it, but it's part of the track and you got to deal with it. So I think they should keep it for sure.
I've always been of the mindset that you should have the drivers adapt to the track, not adapt the track for the preferences of the drivers. And so I completely agree with Scott Dixon here. And I also want to point out, I know Joe and I have been out for the ARCA Menard Series West a couple of times. At this track, they don't use the chicane on the starts and the restarts. They had some trouble with that. The first year they went back in 2021, so they decided to abort that and just bypass the chicane on the starts and restarts starting in 2022, which they did again this year. But that's the ARCA Menard Series West. It's used as a development series. You have literal teenagers in that series who are trying to work their way up, just getting started in stock car racing, don't have very much experience. This is the NTT INDYCAR Series. It's the top level of American open wheel racing. These drivers can handle it. They should be able to make their way through the chicane. So I agree with Scott Dixon. Keep it there, and hopefully everybody gets through the first corner on the initial start, and we can have a good race from there on out. Now, the Shelton chicane is one of many trouble spots at Portland International Raceway. Turn 12 saw several drivers, including Joseph Newgarden, go off in qualifying. Unable to be driven back, Team Penske brought out the backup car for parts. However, he was the fastest in final practice. Josh, Kobe, everyone's pushing around PIR. However, we had thunderstorms last night, which will make for a mostly green racetrack. We will have the Indy Next race today before IndyCar, so it won't be completely green. But with that, Josh, with cooler temperatures today and some rubber from Indy Next, what type of race are you anticipating?
Green. Incredibly green. This is going to be great as well, because we saw already in the practice sessions how greasy the track was, how difficult it was to get some rubber down as well. And then in qualifying, the grip still wasn't completely there. Drivers got offline a meter and the lap was gone. So especially in their last runs, when they put on the alternative tyres, they weren't setting any faster than what they did on the black primary. So we've got no real difference between the two tyres, which is going to be really crucial, because that means you can go quicker and longer on a black primary tyre. And then you're going to have to run the reds at some point in the race, and you're going to go slower. So we've got a really changing Grand Prix ahead of us. I can't wait for it. And to tag on the end of the last question there, if you remove the first chicane, then it's just, to me, it's like you're removing turn 1 at Indianapolis out of 500. Nope, sorry, we're not going to use turn 1 in case it's an accident. We're going to slow you all down and take the MotoGP layout. Just take you through there, just so there's no accidents. No, these are the best drivers. They can get through. And I'm very much looking to turn 1, because that is going to be a make or break, as it always is for this type of race. And especially with the greasiness, they're going to go down there at full speed into the braking zone. Cold tyres, cold brakes. We're going to have a lot of lockups. I think we will see another start line crash into turn 1, and it could be quite interesting for the title if Palou is caught up in that, because that will put Dixon, who's starting ahead, well, it's alongside it on the same grid. If Dixon gets out clear and Palou doesn't, that's going to be fun. And Palou starting on the outside as well. I can't wait. It's going to be such a good launch into turn 1.
Yeah, Josh, it would not surprise me if we saw another lap 1 crash. And speaking of lap 1 crashes, I'm sure y'all remember Scott Dixon a few years ago. He was involved in that big pileup in which Marco Andretti went upside down, and we thought Dixon was out of it, but Dixon was able to keep his foot on the throttle, and he got out of there, and ended up helping him in the championship in that particular year. So watch out for Scott Dixon. Some strange things have really happened, but yeah, it's been really interesting looking at all the action on the track this weekend, from the practice sessions to qualifying and then the warm-up late last night. The drivers are slipping and sliding around PIR, and hopefully with the green racetrack and a little bit of rubber from Indy Next, I'm really hoping we're going to see an interesting race this year at PIR. I know last year it was a little dull at certain parts because there wasn't really much happening throughout parts of the race. But this year, maybe we'll see an action-packed BitNow.com Grand Prix of Portland. And now I'm bringing everyone back in. The main question everyone is wondering: will Alex Palou wrap up the 2023 NTT INDYCAR Series Championship by the end of today? If Palou finishes 7th or better, 8th, if he leads a lap, he's the champion of IndyCar no matter what Scott Dixon does. If Dixon finishes 8th or worse, Palou is the champion. Or to put this into simpler terms, Palou needs to have at least a 55-point advantage at the end of the race to clinch the title. Starting with you, Alex, is Alex Palou leaving Portland the IndyCar champion and for the first time since 2005 clinching the championship before the final race?
You know, I want to say yes, but the problem is the other guy still mathematically involved is Scott Dixon. You cannot just say, I'm champion, it's over, but you have Scott Dixon still mathematically in. As long as Scott Dixon is mathematically eligible for a championship, he is a risk, and he has proved that the past 2 weeks. I know the chances are slim, but I have to say, I'm not sure if Alex Palou will clinch it today. Scott Dixon is just too good, and he's going to be able to capitalize again. And even if he wins, I mean, it's going to be really tight, but I think Scott Dixon's going to keep it mathematically in here.
Alex, I disagree. And the reason is Alex Palou's results heading into the Grand Prix of Portland here. What did we say? Alex Palou can finish as low as 8th if he leads a lap. Do you know what Alex Palou's worst finish this season is in the entire 2023 calendar year so far? It's 8th. Alex Palou is going to be your champion at the end of the day.
I have to agree completely with Ben. Just a bad day for Alex Palou is like 3rd, so his worst day is 8th. So leaving it up to him to finish 7th or better, I think that's kind of locked up unless he gets in some huge trouble at the start.
If you're watching qualifying with us yesterday, you'd know that we've all said yes to this question in the commentary team just because Joe Samaniego is trackside, and which means we get an interview with him at the Grid Network, which is, I think, what everybody will agree. So I'm saying yes, just so that Joe can take it. And Adam says that Alex Palou clinches the 2022 NTT INDYCAR Series Championship this weekend. He's on the commentary team with me this weekend. He agrees. Joe, you've got to get your question down. Sure you already have. Write it. How does it feel to be a world champion for a second time? And I think it'll be brilliant. But yeah, he'll do it. He can't not. Dixon may do it, but compared to the stats, Dixon's had a shocking year. So yeah, he's just lucky to be in this position. And it's not often you say Scott Dixon's lucky, but Alex Palou's controlled this the entire year. And if he wants to wrap it up today for the first time, not going to the last race in 18 years, it's a record that can be broken. And today we've had a lot of records broken as well, across Formula One, MotoGP and everything. So it's a lot of fun today. So yeah, definitely going to be a barnstormer race as well.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a great chance that Alex Palou can lead Portland as the championship today. As you were saying, his worst finish of this year was eighth place. And considering all the different circumstances that can happen in a season, it's really surprising, that one outlier has to be 8th place. It's been a remarkably strong and consistent season for Alex Palou, and it would not surprise me today to see him hosting the championship trophy above his head later today. I know some people entering the weekend were a little concerned that the chemistry of this number 10 team would be off, especially with his lead strategist Barry Wanzer, who's going to be at these final 2 weeks of the season. But it really seems like that team has pulled it together, and they haven't missed a beat at all so far this weekend.
So I'm also going to agree with the majority of our team here and say that Alex Palou will clinch the championship before the final race. And now we have some silly season news from Portland International Raceway that broke yesterday. Romain Grosjean will not return to Andretti Autosport. Several folks have reported this. Grosjean was frustrated with his team yesterday after he failed to advance to the Fast 12. Now it appears unlikely that Grosjean will end his Andretti tenure with his maiden IndyCar win. Considering how close he was at St. Petersburg, the podium finishes at Dale Coyne Racing, and some impressive oval races, it looked like Grosjean was going to be a contender for wins and championships because Andretti Autosport is one of the top teams. But this may feel like a missed opportunity. Now, Alex, in your opinion, what went wrong with this combination, and would this be a different story if Grosjean had won at St. Petersburg?
First, I don't think we'd be talking anything different if Grosjean had won a race. I really don't, because he still races the same way everywhere. He races over aggressive. He tries too hard and he wrecks himself more often than not. So even if he won that race, he was still going to wreck a bunch of cars later on. And I think with Romain Grosjean is the problem with him is that he just performs better when there's no pressure. And when he was in the 51 at Coin, he had no pressure on him. He was having the time of his life. He was smiling every week. And if you saw him, he had the biggest smile on his face. And he was just having the happiest time of his career. But then he goes to Andretti Autosport, where they expect you to win and win championships. At Coin, they're happy with a top 5, top 10, maybe a win, possibly. But at Andretti, if you're not winning, they're not happy. So with him, that pressure, it seems, really got to him. And it just wasn't going to work out. And I would love it if he can stay in IndyCar, maybe go back to Coin. Like, that'd be really cool. The 18 is open next year. Or maybe the ECR 20. But I just think he needs to go to a team that's not a championship contender.
I have to agree that it definitely seems like the pressure gets to Grosjean and affects him a lot more than maybe it would some other championship caliber drivers, in terms of, like, you can see it reflected in the way that he races, and he's kind of racing like he's stressed out. So just, I agree with Alex that he is maybe not the right fit for a top team at Andretti. And it's a shame that it didn't work out there, but I think that Grosjean still can contribute a lot to the IndyCar series if he were to end up with a different team.
This one's going to hurt a little bit, so just buckle yourselves in. Romain Grosjean has never been a good driver, ever. He got lucky in his time in GP2 to become the champion because of the others around him weren't as a quicker crop yet. He was stuck with older drivers in the series, and the new ones weren't up to speed yet. So he was the best of the bunch, but it wasn't a good fit. His first stint in Formula One with Renault in 09, he was thrust in when they had to get rid of Piquet Jr. And he was spinning, he was crashing, he clearly wasn't ready. His second stint didn't look much better. He was quick in that Lotus Renault. He had podiums and he had time. And everyone thought, okay, he's getting good. The second that Raikkonen left and that team started to crumble, he crumbled around it. That Lotus Renault team sort of killed off Romain Grosjean. Ever since then, he was slowly drifting. He went to Haas in 2016. He thought, okay, this is a new team, new energy. And I'm here, I'm the more experienced driver compared to Gutierrez and later Magnussen. And I thought, okay, this is my chance to be a team leader. He didn't become a team leader. His best result, as I said, was 5th on debut in Australia. He was getting worse and worse and worse, so much to the point that he was fired before the end of 2020. Of course, as we know, it was after contact with Magnussen throughout the year as well, and all the Haas drama. They weren't good for each other. Magnussen's developed as a driver since then. Romain hasn't. And the reason Romain hasn't developed as a driver since then is because he hasn't been in Formula One. He was taken out, of course, with that accident, the huge accident that everybody suddenly made it sort of like he became the Phoenix, didn't he? Everyone was calling him that. It turned out like, oh my God, he's been kicked out from Formula One, or he died and everything, and now he's come over to IndyCar, and that got him some support. But he hasn't changed his driving style. When he was with the Coin Racing, it was great stuff, great energy. Everyone was loving him as well, and then he got in at Andretti. And from year one, it was a problem. We all remember what happened at Mid-Ohio. We all remember the fact that they were saying, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Michael Andretti walking around as well. Wanted to grab him by the scruff of the neck as well. It didn't work. They wanted to part company before this season started. I thought it could get better. I thought it was going to get better because we had a great start in St. Pete and he was looking good, but it failed. It failed again, unfortunately. And ever since then, it was writing on the wall that he wouldn't be on the team. Marcus Ericsson was announced even before as his replacement. He never said what number it was, but every single one of the team here knew. And we've talked about it on Grid tonight. We all knew it was Romain Grosjean who was getting the boot. Whether he goes, I don't think IndyCar want him. I don't think anybody in IndyCar want him because there's better options. Why would you go for a driver who crashes when you can get a new faster driver in as well? So he's not going to be in IndyCar. He's got this deal in him, sir, with Lamborghini. He could see that out. Realistically, I think he's on his way back to World Endurance Championship in some form or another, possibly with Alpine in their LMH program. But he won't be in Formula One. He will go back to Europe. He's got a young family, don't forget. They've spent a couple of years in America, but the kids are now getting slightly older. It's time for them to start school. That will be playing on his mind. I think he'll go back to Europe and do some WEC races.
Thank you, Josh. Those were some great points. And, with news of Grosjean leaving and Ericsson going to Andretti, people are trying to connect the dots for David Malukas. Now, Malukas indicated that he has a deal, and he told Joe that it's a big step for him. This is what he said.
Yeah, next season looks very good for us. Obviously I can't say anything from my end of what's happening, but I'm excited. It's the next step for my career and my future, and I can't wait to get it started. It'll be fun.
Now, we also know that in Portland, Felix Rosenqvist told Jenna Fryer from the Associated Press to expect an announcement between 2 to 6 days on his future. Now, there's no word on Devlin DeFrancesco starting 21st in today's race. Now, Kobe, starting with you, considering Malukas isn't making friends with Team Penske, do you see him going to Andretti to stick with Honda or join Chevy and McLaren?
Well, based on what everybody's saying in the past, again, in the IndyCar side of things in the motorsports industry, it really seems like it's a foregone conclusion that David Malukas is going to be taking over that number 6 Chevrolet that's currently occupied by Felix Rosenqvist, the number 6 Chevrolet that was going to be Alex Palou's before he decided to tell McLaren that he's not going to be joining the team. After all, I think assuming that Malukas is going to be going to McLaren, which could be announced days from now, I think this is a huge step up for him, and I think this is going to be a great opportunity to show what he can really do. And not to say, he hasn't been able to show what he can do at Delcoin Racing. He's really put himself on the map, especially at Gateway the last couple of years. It seems like Malukas has the potential to be a future star in IndyCar. He has a great personality, connects well with the fans. I think you get him with the team like McLaren, who certainly has a more competitive program than Delcoin Racing. I think we can really see Malukas take off, and it would not surprise me if we see him winning IndyCar races as soon as next year. And in regards to Andretti and Honda, the rumors are that they could potentially go down to 3 teams next year with Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood, and then a newcomer Marcus Ericsson. But the 4th car, we don't know if they're gonna put anyone in that yet. So stay tuned. But get back to the question, I really do think that this would be a great opportunity for Malukas' future in IndyCar.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't have too much to add. I think that's the most likely destination is Chevrolet with McLaren. You talk about Andretti and Honda, Kobe. I'm glad you brought that up because I saw a piece from NBC Sports yesterday. Michael Andretti says it's non-committal in terms of whether or not they're even going to have that 4th car next year. They'd like to have it. They're working on it. They hope to have an answer by Laguna Seca, but it's not a done deal just yet. And if anything, they might just not do it and downsize to 3 cars, and then nobody gets that seat. So that's where Andretti is right now. I think McLaren is a much more likely destination at this point.
I know the foregone conclusion is that he's going to McLaren. That's what the reports are. But before those reports came out, David Malukas was rumored to go literally everywhere. And it was just reported that he was going to go to the 29. It was rumored he was going to go over to Ed Carpenter Racing at a point. But then it sounds like he's going to go to McLaren in the 6. And it really makes you wonder what was going to happen if Alex Palou, that whole legal drama doesn't come back up. And he says, he doesn't say he's going to not go to McLaren. He actually does go to McLaren. What happens to Malukas then? There's a lot of different factors that happened here. But yeah, it does seem like Malukas is going to go to the 6. I think that'll be a good fit for him. I think he's going to get along great with Pato O'Ward. I think that's going to be awesome for their social media teams. That's already fantastic. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Now, speaking of McLaren, of course, the legal battle between Alex Palou and McLaren is another big piece of the puzzle waiting. There are so many moving pieces going around, a tense atmosphere in Portland, and as Joe reported, the potential crowning of a champion, the first time it may ever happen in Portland. So be sure to subscribe to the Grid Network here on YouTube and don't miss any silly season coverage. Now, Alex, for the hardest question we must answer, pick a winner.
That's right, Isha. It's time for Pick a Winner. So nobody picked the MotoGP winner of Aleix Espargaro. In Formula 1, the Italian Grand Prix, Max Verstappen was victorious because of course he was. And we made our NASCAR picks yesterday. So if you're in the chat room, comment with your NASCAR picks for tonight if you haven't done so already. And also your IndyCar picks. Now it's time for us to make our IndyCar bitnow.com Grand Prix of Portland picks. Isha, let's start with you.
So I'm going to make this quick, and I'm just going to say that I'm going with Graham Rahal.
I'm going to take the number 2 to go back-to-back. I'm going to pick Scott McLaughlin.
I tell you, I'm so torn between Graham Rahal and Scott Dixon. I want to lean Dixon because I think, obviously, when you look at his career, how can you ever bet against him? But Graham Rahal's got to have all the pressure in the world to go one better and make up for what happened at IMS. I know he's so hungry to win again. I don't know. I'm going to go Rahal. I'll just say Graham Rahal and see how it works for me.
I'm going Graham Rahal as well. I think he can do it. It's really the only logical choice, surely.
I think he's going to clinch the championship and he's going to get the race win as well. I think we're going to see a repeat winner. I'm going to go Alex Palou. I think it's going to be a very sentimental win for him, especially with his lead strategist, Barry Wanzer, who was just recently diagnosed with cancer. So I really think that a lot of emotions are going to be playing on that team, and they're going to channel that emotion to a race win, and they're going to do it for Barry.
And I think Scott Dixon is going to just go out, keep trying to keep this championship alive, and get 3 wins in a row.
Hey, it could very well be Dixon. You know, he's won 3 races in a row multiple times in his career before. We'll see if he can do it again today. But thank you all so much for watching this special edition of Grid Live pre-race from Portland. And be sure to stay tuned throughout the rest of the day and tomorrow for the Grid Live wrap-up show. Much more coverage from the Grand Prix of Portland from our own Joe Samaniego on site this weekend. Follow us on all our social media platforms, X, that's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn, Threads. Most importantly, subscribe to us here on YouTube. Thank you so much for 700 subscribers. As we continue on our journey to 1,000 and beyond, be sure to hit the bell icon as well so you're notified every time we host a new show or upload a new video. And thank you, as always, to our Patreon supporters, Colin Deschelle, Mark Robin, and David. Your support means the world to us. It's what is allowing Joe to be on site this weekend. And as you can see, if we hit our goal of $500 per month, we can start doing this on a more regular basis in 2024 and beyond. Or if you'd rather make a one-time donation, you can visit the links to buy me a coffee in the description box below, or you can donate through YouTube's Super Chat option, which we've just had enabled as well. For everybody on the Grid Network team, Alex Anderson, Isha Azim, Kobe Lambeth, Amanda Kaufman, Joshua Birch, and our own Joe Samaniego on site this weekend, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day and enjoy the Grand Prix of Portland.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.